Luigi Mangione is back in court for his state murder trial.
He's accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown last year. His defense attorneys want some of his statements to law enforcement and some evidence tossed out before the trial, claiming his rights were violated. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to a long list of state and federal charges, including murder and federal counts that could carry the death penalty.
Alice Gaynor is live outside the courthouse now with the latest for us. Alice?
For the first time, we saw security video from inside the McDonald's in Pennsylvania where Luigi Mangione was arrested. There was no audio, but we did hear audio of a 911 call placed by the manager of that restaurant. Defense attorneys want statements he made to law enforcement tossed because they claim his Miranda rights were not read to him. They also say they want evidence found inside his backpack, like a gun, a note to the FBI, and notebook entries. They say those should be tossed as well because they claim it was a warrantless search. A smiling Luigi Mangione chatted with his attorneys before the hearing began and took notes during it, his hands unshackled at the defense table like his attorneys requested. A 911 call from a manager at the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania was played. Quote, "I have a customer here that some other customers were suspicious of," explaining those customers were really upset and thought he looked like the man police were searching for in connection to the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, who was fatally gunned down in Midtown last December. Up until now, we've only seen still images of Mangione's arrest at that restaurant last December. The security video was played in the courtroom. In it, you see Mangione sit down around 9:01 a.m. at a side dining room near the restroom. At 9:28, two officers approach him. He stands with his hands in the air. Employees and customers can be seen coming and going. One worker gets a mop from a closet while this is going on. At one point, Mangione is seated again and seems to be eating while speaking with officers. Around 9:40, more officers show up. Mangione is eventually seen standing and being searched. A corrections officer at a Pennsylvania state prison in charge of monitoring Mangione in custody says he was under constant watch because he was told they did, quote, not want an Epstein-style situation. He testified that Mangione spoke to him about his travels, literature, health care, and asked how he was being perceived. The officer said there was a time Mangione said he wanted to make a statement to the public. Outside the courthouse, some camped out to try and get a spot in the courtroom. Mangione supporters showed up wearing his name and photo and carried signs. There were 3 rows of members of the public seated in the back. Christina and Jessica, these hearings are expected to last at least several days.
Alice, when they played the audio and video, what was Mangione's demeanor like hearing that in court?
So he was paying attention. Whenever video was played on the monitors, he was watching it. He was listening to the audio. He was listening to the witnesses on the stand. One interesting observation around noon, we were taking a quick break, and his hands were unshackled during the proceedings so he could write. I'll wait a moment. When he got up for this quick break, officers recuffed his hands behind his back, but then he quickly moved his cuffed hand in front to flip over his notebook where he had been taking notes so nobody could read what he was writing. One of the court officers kind of laughed when he did that, and Mangione sort of laughed and smiled back at him. When he walked into the courtroom, when he exited the courtroom, he did not look at the gallery. There was one moment where he was seated. There was a bit of a delay for some technical issues. I saw him turn to the left and look at the gallery and turn to the right and briefly look at the gallery, but otherwise it was head down when he entered.
All right, Alice, thank you. By the way, Alice will be in court tomorrow as well as this hearing continues. So stay with CBS News New York for the very latest in the Luigi Mangione case.